Picture this: you've worked 40 years, saved diligently, and now it's finally time to retire. You sit down with your statements and realize you've got three potential income streams: Social Security, maybe an annuity. And that 401k you've been pumping money into for decades. But here's the problem: nobody ever taught you which one's the hero, which one's the villain, and which one secretly handcuffs your financial freedom. Social Security promises stability, but will it really keep up with rising costs? Annuities guarantee income, but at what price? And your 401k, it's a rocket ship, but rockets can crash. This is the retirement income showdown no one talks about. And if you get it wrong, you could find yourself broke, stressed, and dependent at the very moment you're supposed to enjoy life the most. But if you get it right, you'll have freedom, security, and the peace of mind that your money will last longer than you do. Today, we're going to strip away the hype, the sales talk, and the half-truths, and I'll show you exactly how Social Security, annuities, and 401ks really stack up, because your future depends on knowing which one to trust, which one to question, and how to combine them into the ultimate retirement plan. When most people think about retirement, the first thing that pops into their heads is Social Security. And that's no surprise. It's been around since the 1930s. It's government-backed, and it feels like a guaranteed paycheck for life. For decades, people thought of it as the main solution for retirement income. But here's the reality. Social Security was never designed to fully fund your retirement. It was built as a safety net, a baseline to keep seniors from living in poverty. And while that's an important piece of the puzzle, it's nowhere near enough to live comfortably on its own in 2025. Let's break it down. What Social Security really pays? The average monthly Social Security benefit in 2025 hovers around $1,700. That's about $24,000 a year. Now ask yourself, could you live on the $24,000 a year comfortably? Sure, if your house is paid off, you don't have major health expenses, and you're extremely disciplined, you might make it stretch. But for most people, it barely covers essentials: groceries, utilities, property taxes, gas, and medical costs. Forget about travel, hobbies, or spoiling the grandkids, things most retirees dream of doing. And remember, that's the average. Many seniors get far less because their lifetime earnings were lower or because they claimed benefits early. Some are looking at $4,200 or $3,300 a month. That's living paycheck to paycheck in retirement. The rising cost of living problem, here's where it gets worse. The cost of living keeps climbing. Food, housing, healthcare, everything is going up, and it's rising faster than Social Security can keep pace. Yes, Social Security has annual cost of living adjustments, QOLA, but those increases are tied to government formulas that don't always reflect the true inflation retirees feel, especially in healthcare, where prices skyrocket year after year. So while you might see a small bump in your Social Security check each January, it often feels like you're running in place, or worse, falling behind. The trust fund issue nobody likes talking about, then there's the elephant in the room. The Social Security Trust Fund. Politicians hate talking about it, but the truth is clear. By the early 2030s, the system is projected to face shortfalls. If nothing changes, benefits could be reduced by 20% or more. Now, will Social Security disappear? No, probably not. It's too politically sensitive. But cuts, higher taxes, or delayed retirement ages, that's absolutely on the table. And that means relying on Social Security alone is like relying on a boat with a slow leak. It'll float for a while, but eventually it sinks unless you've got backup. A quick story, let me give you an example. Take John, a 68-year-old retiree who worked as a mechanic his whole life. He thought, I've paid into Social Security for 40 years. That'll cover me. When he finally stopped working, his check came in at $1,700 a month. At first, he thought he could manage, but then reality hit. Rent and utilities took nearly half. Groceries and gas took another big chunk. A couple of prescriptions and doctor's visits ate up the rest. By the end of the month, John was counting pennies. Vacations, out of the question. Helping his grandkids with college, impossible. He even had to pick up part-time work just to make ends meet. John's story isn't unusual. It's the reality for millions who thought Social Security would be enough. Why Social Security still matters. Now, let's be clear. I'm not saying Social Security is useless. Far from it. It's dependable income. It's guaranteed to last as long as you live. And it gives retirees a sense of security that the market or interest rates can't always provide. Think of Social Security like the foundation of a house. It's strong, reliable, and essential. But here's the problem. You can't live in a foundation. You need walls, a roof, and everything else that makes it livable. That's where your 401k, IRAs, annuities, and other income sources come into play. The big mindset shift. The biggest mistake retirees make is assuming Social Security is the plan. It's not the plan, it's the starting point. When you build your retirement strategy, you should treat Social Security as the baseline income that covers the bare essentials, keeping the lights on, food on the table, and a roof over your head. Then you layer on other income streams like savings, investments, or annuities to cover the lifestyle you actually want, because retirement isn't just about surviving, it's about living. The takeaway, so here's the key truth: Social Security is steady, dependable, and vital, but it's not enough on its own. If you want a retirement where you're not just scraping by, where you can travel, enjoy your hobbies, spoil the grandkids, and actually live, you need to view Social Security as just one leg of the stool. The other legs, annuities, 401s, IRAs, even part-time income, are what make the stool stable. Because relying solely on Social Security is like sitting on a one-legged stool. You'll wobble, you'll struggle, and eventually you'll fall. But when you treat Social Security as the foundation and then build on top of it with other income streams, that's when retirement becomes not just possible, but enjoyable. When people first hear the word annuity, their eyes usually glaze over. It sounds complicated, financial, maybe even a little boring. But here's the truth: annuities are one of the most marketed retirement products out there, especially to seniors. And depending on how they're used, they can either feel like a warm safety blanket or like golden handcuffs that lock you into a deal you regret. So let's cut through the confusion. What exactly is an annuity? How does it work? And more importantly, when does it make sense and when does it not? What an annuity really is at its core. An annuity is simple. You hand over a chunk of money to an insurance company, and in return, promise to pay you a steady stream of income, sometimes for a set number of years, sometimes for the rest of your life. It's like buying a personal pension. You trade liquidity, having access to your money, for security's guaranteed income. That can sound pretty comforting, especially in a world where markets swing up and down and Social Security feels shaky. But here's where things get tricky. There are many types of annuities, each with their own rules, fees, and catches. Fixed, variable, indexed, immediate, deferred. The list goes on. And not all of them are designed with your best interests in mind. The pros: why annuities can be a safety blanket. Let's start with the good side, because annuities do have real benefits. Guaranteed income for life. One of the scariest parts of retirement is the question, what if I outlive my money? An annuity takes that fear off the table by guaranteeing income as long as you live. It's peace of mind you can't get from the stock market. Protection from market volatility. If the market tanks, your annuity payment doesn't change. That's a huge relief for risk-averse retirees who can't stomach another roller coaster ride after working 40 years. Simplicity: once you set it up, you don't have to manage it. No logging in to check your portfolio every day. No stressing over interest rates. It just pays you. For some people, especially those who crave stability over growth, an annuity feels like that warm safety blanket, predictable, steady, and comforting. The cons: why annuities can be golden handcuffs. But here's the other side of the coin. Annuities are often sold as if they're the perfect solution, and that's where people get trapped. High fees and commissions. Many annuities are packed with fees, management fees, rider fees, surrender charges. 8. And because salespeople often earn juicy commissions for selling them, there's a huge incentive to push them even when they're not right for you. Lack of flexibility. Once you put money into an annuity, it's locked up. Need cash for an emergency. Tough luck. You'll face steep penalties if you try to withdraw too soon. That's why I call them golden handcuffs. They shine on the outside, but once you're in, you can feel trapped. Inflation risk. Imagine locking into $2,000 in a month today. That might sound solid, but 15 years down the line, with inflation, that same $2,000 could feel like 1,200. Unless your annuity has inflation protection, which often costs extra, your guaranteed income loses buying power over time. Complexity. The fine print on many annuities is enough to make your head spin. Hidden fees, confusing terms, vague guarantees. It's easy to misunderstand what you're really signing up for. A real life example, let's make this real. Mary, a 66-year-old widow, was sold an annuity by her financial advisor. It sounded perfect, $2,500 a month for life. She thought she was set. But here's what she didn't realize. She gave up 300 zalozens in savings to buy it. The annuity payments weren't adjusted for inflation. After 10 years, the money she could have used for travel or emergencies was untouchable. At first, it felt great, steady income, no stress. But as prices rose, that $2,500 bought less and less. Meanwhile, her neighbor, who invested part of his savings in a balanced 4-to-1, had more flexibility and more growth. Mary didn't make a bad choice, but she made an incomplete one. She treated the annuity as the whole solution instead of just part of the plan. When annuities make sense, so should you run away from annuities? Not necessarily. They can be a smart tool if used correctly. They make sense if you want a paycheck for life to cover basic expenses alongside Social Security. They work for people who can't handle market swings and want guaranteed stability. They're useful as a piece of a diversified retirement plan, not the entire plan. Think of an annuity like insurance. You don't buy it to get rich, you buy it for security. The big takeaway, here's what you need to remember. Annuities can feel like a safety blanket, steady, warm, reassuring, but they can also lock you in, restrict your freedom, and lose value to inflation. The danger isn't the annuity itself, it's using it blindly without understanding the trade-offs. So before you sign on the dotted line, ask yourself, am I buying peace of mind or am I buying golden handcuffs? The smartest retirees use annuities as just one leg of the stool. They combine them with Social Security for stability and 401(k), growth for flexibility. That's when annuities shine, when they're part of the mix, not the whole recipe. When it comes to retirement planning, the 401(k) is often seen as the crown jewel. It's the vehicle most working Americans know, use, and rely on to build their nest egg. And for good reason, it's one of the most powerful tools for wealth building ever created. But here's the kicker, while a 401(k) can be your financial rocket ship, every rocket has weak spots. And if you don't understand the risks, you could launch into retirement only to run out of fuel halfway through the trip. Let's break it down. How does a 401(k) really work? Why is it so powerful? And what are the catches no one talks about? The magic of the 401(k) at its core, a 401(k) is simple. It lets you save and invest for retirement directly from your paycheck, often with pre-tax dollars. That means you get a tax break up front, lowering your taxable income today, while your money grows tax deferred until you withdraw it in retirement. And here's where it gets even better. Many employers match your contributions. Put in 5% and your company might throw in another 5%. That's free money. It's like doubling your savings instantly. Imagine you're saving $500 a month. If your employer matches $4 going in over 30 years with average returns that could grow into 7 figures. That's the growth engine in action. The power of compound growth. Let's talk about the secret sauce, compounding. When you invest in a 401k, you're putting money into stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. Over time, those investments grow, and then the growth itself grows. It's exponential. The earlier you start, the more insane the numbers get. For example, if you invest 200 a month starting at age 25, by the time you hit 65, you could have over 500 those and assuming a modest return. But if you start at 45 with the same 200, you'll barely break 100,000. That's the difference compounding makes. It's not about timing the market, it's about time in the market. The catch is no one talks about now, here's where things get tricky. Because while 401ks are amazing, they come with catches most people don't fully understand. Taxes don't disappear, they're just delayed. Sure, you don't pay taxes up front, but when you withdraw in retirement, every dollar is taxed as ordinary income. And if tax rates go up in the future, and let's be real, they probably will, your retirement income could take a big hit. Market volatility, unlike Social Security or annuities, your 41k is tied to the stock market.
Wait.
That's great in good years, but what happens if there's a crash the year you retire? A 20% dip could wipe out hundreds of thousands, leaving you scrambling. Required minimum distributions, ARMDs. Once you hit your early 70s, the government forces you to start withdrawing from your 401k, whether you need the money or not. That means forced taxable income that can bump you into higher brackets. Fees that eat away. Many 401k plans are loaded with hidden fees, expense ratios, administrative costs, fund management fees. Over 30 years, those tiny percentages can eat up hundreds of thousands of your returns. Illusion of liquidity. You might look at your 41k balance and think, great, I've got $500. But you can't just grab it. Withdraw early, and you'll face penalties and taxes. Even in retirement, that number isn't truly your number. It's shared with the IRS. A real-life example, let's bring this to life. Tom, a 64-year-old retiree, worked at the same company for 35 years. He contributed faithfully to his 401k, maxed out his employer match, and built a balance of nearly 1.2 million. He felt like a millionaire. But here's what he didn't expect. When he started withdrawing, nearly 25% went straight to taxes. The market took a downturn in his first year of retirement, shrinking his balance by almost 15%. On top of that, the fees in his actively managed funds had quietly cost him over 150,000 across his career. Now, don't get me wrong, Tom was still in a far better position than most retirees. But the whole millionaire dream turned into a much leaner reality once the fine print and the risks hit home. When 401ks shine despite the drawbacks, the 401k is still one of the most effective retirement tools. If you know how to use it wisely, always grab the employer match. That's free money. 8. And not taking it is like leaving cash on the table. Diversify your investments. Don't go all in on company stock or overly aggressive funds. Balance growth with stability. Keep an eye on fees. Choose low-cost index funds whenever possible. They often outperform expensive managed funds in the long run. Plan for taxes now. Consider mixing in a Roth 41k or Roth IRA for tax-free withdrawals later. That way, you're not completely at the mercy of future tax rates. The big takeaway, the 41k is the growth engine of retirement. It can turn modest savings into serious wealth. But remember, growth without a plan can be dangerous. If you treat your 401k like a bottomless ATM or ignore the tax man waiting at the end, you could end up disappointed. On the other hand, if you use it strategically, pairing it with Social Security for stability and annuities for guaranteed income, you get the best of all worlds: growth, security, and peace of mind. Your 401k isn't just a number on a statement, it's a tool. And like any tool, it only works if you know how to handle it. If there's one thing you need to understand after exploring Social Security, annuities, and 401ks, it's this: retirement isn't about choosing one winner, it's about creating a balance. Too many people make the mistake of betting everything on one source of income. They rely solely on Social Security, thinking it's enough. Others sink all their savings into an annuity, giving up flexibility for peace of mind. Some put everything into a 4-to-1 rig, chasing growth but ignoring market risk. Each of these strategies alone has serious downsides. The smart retiree doesn't pick sides. They combine income streams to create security, flexibility, and growth. This is where the magic happens. The foundation. Social security. Start with what you can count on. Social security is the foundation of your retirement income. It's guaranteed, reliable, and inflation adjusted, at least to a degree. Think of Social Security as the base layer of a financial pyramid. It covers your essential expenses, housing, utilities, groceries, basic healthcare. Once this foundation is strong, you can start layering other sources of income without fear. Relying only on Social Security, however, is risky. Inflation, rising healthcare costs, and potential future cuts mean that the foundation alone isn't enough to live comfortably. It only keeps you afloat. That's why you need the next layer, the stability layer. Annuities. This is where annuities shine, but only as part of a larger strategy. An annuity provides predictable, guaranteed income. It can replace a portion of your paycheck and reduce the stress of market volatility. Think of it as a safety net. Even if your investments drop or Social Security adjustments lag behind inflation, you still have a steady stream coming in. The trick is to use annuities strategically, not blindly. A fixed annuity covering basic expenses can give peace of mind while leaving the rest of your portfolio flexible and available for growth or emergencies. This way, you avoid the golden handcuff scenario and retain freedom over your money. The growth engine 4,100 key areas and investments. Now we bring in the growth engine. Your 4-to-1 Zekia and other investments aren't about immediate stability. They're about long-term wealth and financial freedom. Here's why. Social Security and annuities provide the floor, but a 401 gives you the ceiling. With careful investing, you can generate additional income for luxuries, travel, hobbies, or helping your family. It's also the buffer against inflation. While fixed annuity payments might lose purchasing power over time, investments in a diversified 401 portfolio can grow faster than inflation, maintaining your lifestyle throughout retirement. Why the mix matters? Let's bring this to life with an example. Susan, a 65-year-old teacher, decided to create a balanced retirement strategy. Her Social Security covers her basic living costs. She purchased a modest annuity to guarantee income for necessities like bills and groceries. She kept the rest of her retirement savings in her 401 store for growth and flexibility. Because of this mix, even if the market drops, her essentials are covered. If she lives longer than expected, she won't outlive her guaranteed income. She can still enjoy life travel, hobbies, and helping her grandchildren. Susan didn't have to choose between security and freedom. She built a system where both coexist. Key principles for a balanced strategy. Here are the rules that make this combination work. Never rely on a single source. One failure can jeopardize your entire retirement. Layer your income, Social Security as the base, annuities for stability, investments for growth. Keep some liquidity. Always maintain access to funds for emergencies or unexpected expenses. Adjust as you go. Life changes, markets fluctuate, and your strategy should be flexible. Understand your goals. Do you prioritize safety, growth, lifestyle, or a combination? Your mix should reflect your priorities. The psychological advantage, the beauty of a mixed strategy isn't just financial, it's psychological. Retirement can be stressful. Will your money last? What if the market crashes tomorrow? By having a layered system, you remove fear from the equation. Social Security and annuities cover necessities. Investments handle growth. You can make spending decisions without panic because you know the floor is secure and the ceiling is within reach. This kind of planning transforms retirement from surviving to thriving. You go from worrying about whether you'll make ends meet to having freedom and flexibility to enjoy the life you've worked so hard to earn. The big takeaway, here's the ultimate lesson. Retirement income is not a showdown, it's a combination. Social Security, foundation, reliable, guaranteed. Annuities tech stability layers a peace of mind, predictable, 4-1s IK investments, growth engine, flexibility, wealth creation. When these three work together, you create a system that is resilient to market swings, inflation, and unexpected life events. You're not gambling on one source, you're building a safety net and a growth plan simultaneously. The smartest retirees don't pick winners, they build a team. And in retirement, that team ensures you don't just survive, you thrive.